About it, former Defense Secretary and Senator from Maine, William Cohen. Senator, when you see the crazy propaganda ads coming out of North Korea lately, for example, this one showing New York City in flames while We Are the World plays in the background, it becomes a little hard to take Kim Jong-un seriously. But let's be honest, this guy and his father before him, they come off as clownish, but national security experts are not laughing. They're concerned about what Kim Jong-un might do. 3 years ago, North Korea attacked a South Korean sea vessel, killing 46 sailors. That same year, they shelled an island, killing 4 South Koreans. So this is a very serious thing we're talking about. They're testing weapons. They're talking smack. How scared should we be?
Well, I think we should be concerned. This has been going on for some time, but you have a young man who was promoted to a 4-star general before becoming president, who has very little worldly experience, who has no other show of capability other than his military. And I think he's under enormous pressure to demonstrate that his mettle is such. And so what they're doing now is quite dangerous in terms of a possible miscalculation. There's very little flexibility on the part of the South Korean president. I was in Seoul in early January, and because of what you mentioned before, the taking down of the ship and killing 46 sailors, another 4 that were killed on the island, she, as a new president, has very little flexibility. If he does something that's at all provocative that results in a loss of life or puts them in jeopardy, then she's going to be required to respond, and rather vigorously. So it's dangerous, and I think this show of force, Secretary Hagel mentioned that we're not responding. We're trying to send a signal to 4 countries, to North Korea to be sure, but also to Japan, South Korea, because they have shown some concern recently that perhaps our commitment to that security of that region is not as strong as it needs to be. Even some talk about South Korea and Japan possibly turning to nuclear weapons, which would be a big mistake. It's not a really solid position now, but they're talking about it. And the 4th country is China.
Well, let's talk about China, because obviously China does not want a unified Korea. Right. They don't want a U.S. presence and U.S. ally that big. But they can't be happy with that. You were in China earlier this week. What do they think?
They're not happy with the North Koreans. They are very worried that this thing could get out of hand. And so they want the rhetoric to be lowered, to be sure, but also to try to reduce the notion that we're headed inevitably toward any kind of a conflict. It's very bad for them, for us. You mentioned before that we have some troops who are within range of the North Korean missiles. We have 28,500 troops in South Korea. So, yes, we have thousands of troops at risk, and we want to make sure that the North understands that if we had to respond, we can do it by air, land, or sea. So it's a very strong message. Some question whether it's too aggressive. I think it's better to be a little bit more aggressive so that by showing less aggression, you may be inviting even more provocation coming from them. So I think it was just the right message. We want all the countries in the region to know, number one, we're prepared to defend ourselves and our allies in the region.
And lastly, sir, the big fear, I guess, is something along the lines of North Korea starts shelling downtown Seoul, and that would be the worst thing. South Korea would have to respond, and the U.S. would have to help South Korea.
Absolutely.
What happens then?
That would result in the destruction of the North. That's exactly the message that is being sent. If you, in fact, start shelling South Korea, you're attacking an ally, you're attacking us. It means that we've met with a very vigorous response from air, land, and sea. So this is the message that's going forward, and hopefully we talk softly, carry a big stick, and I hope that the Chinese can exercise even more influence over their North Korean client state, because they provide the food and the fuel. And if that's reduced, then North Korea is in very big trouble. They're already in trouble, but that would be big trouble for them and possibly result in a regime change.
All right. Defense Secretary William Cohen, thank you so much. Hope you have a wonderful holiday weekend.
Good to be with you.